Crawford throwing his hat in to want to fight Canelo at 168.
I mean, everybody wants to fight Canelo. It's a money fight. You know what I mean? I think even Inoue would come up to fight Canelo. Canelo wanted to fight him. I mean, I don't want to see Crawford to fight Canelo, to be honest.
David Benavidez has had his sights set on a fight with Canelo for a long time. Now, he shared his thoughts on what could happen if Canelo ends up fighting Terence Crawford instead. Benavidez isn't shy about praising Crawford as one of the best fighters ever, but he believes Canelo has the upper hand if this super fight becomes a reality. Not only that, he actually believes Crawford stands no chance, with a huge possibility of him being knocked out.
A fight with you and Terence Crawford, it would be one of the biggest in boxing.
We're not talking about yet about the fight. Me and we're gonna know each other, and then we wanna see.
Canelo and Crawford are two of the biggest names in boxing today. Both are pound-for-pound stars who have dominated their divisions. Canelo has been an undisputed champion at super middleweight and has also held belts at middleweight and light heavyweight. With over 50 fights and only 2 losses, one to Floyd Mayweather early in his career and another in 2022 against Dmitry Bivol at light heavyweight, Canelo's resume speaks for itself. His strength, skill, and experience make him one of the most dangerous fighters out there.
David Benavidez said he want to fight Terence Crawford and get back for his brother. Terence Crawford ain't trying to do that shit, and this is the conundrum, right? A lot of people say, well, Terence Crawford wants to fight Canelo Alvarez to prove he's the...
On the other hand, Crawford is a fighter who has never tasted defeat. He has been undisputed at lightweight and welterweight, and after defeating Errol Spence Jr. in 2023, he solidified himself as one of the greatest fighters of his era. Crawford made a successful debut at 154 pounds in August 2024 by taking the WBA light middleweight title from Israel Madrimov. It was another historic moment for him as he became a champion in 4 different weight classes. But while Crawford's achievements are incredible, Benavidez is skeptical about how well his skills would hold up against a bigger, more experienced fighter like Canelo.
I mean, I can't really say nothing about that. If that's what he wants to do, then that's what he's going to do. Canelo is a man that he does anything he wants to do. I don't think really what people say affects him. But I feel like the people, they want to see David Benavidez versus Canelo Alvarez. It's the biggest fight to make happen, and I feel like I'm the biggest threat.
Benavidez didn't hold back when discussing the potential matchup. He admitted that Crawford is a technical genius in the ring but pointed out that moving up too many weight classes can be risky, even for someone as talented as Crawford. Crawford is one of the best technical fighters I've ever seen, Benavidez said, but when he moved up to 154, I'm not saying he had problems, but he didn't look like he had the power he had at 147. Now, imagine moving up to 168. That's a huge jump. Weight classes exist for a reason. I'd give Canelo the edge in this fight.
All the crazy stuff about me going up and having a tough time, but he went up in weight and lost. That's the difference. I went up weight and won. He went up and lost. You know, so let's not do that.
The weight difference is the biggest challenge here. Canelo is naturally the bigger man, and he's proven that he can handle himself against bigger opponents, even at light heavyweight. Crawford, however, is relatively new to fighting at higher weights. While his win at 154 pounds was impressive, it's a big leap to go from 154 to 168, especially against someone like Canelo, who has been fighting at super middleweight for years. Benavidez is convinced that the size, power, and experience Canelo brings to the table would be too much for Crawford to handle.
He's not fighting Benavidez. Why would Canelo fight Benavidez, who's relatively unknown, and Benavidez beats him and Benavidez becomes overnight a superstar? That's Canelo's letting Benavidez make a name off of him.
So you're saying that you're going to make...
If Crawford were to fight Canelo at 168, it would be his first fight at that weight. That's a lot to take on, especially when you're up against someone like Canelo who knows how to dominate that division.
Who knows how to dominate that division.
Canelo's been fighting bigger guys, and he's used to the power and speed at that weight. Crawford might be the best at 147 and even at 154, but 168 is a different story. Canelo's track record at 168 is hard to ignore. He's been the king of the super middleweight division and has shown time and time again why he's considered one of the best in the sport. His most recent fight in September against Edgar Bunga Jr. was another display of his dominance, as he defended his titles with ease, winning on points in front of a packed crowd at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Canelo's combination of power, precision, and ring IQ makes him a nightmare for anyone who steps into the ring with him.
Crawford fans, I've been trying to say this, dog. Canelo at 168 is all wrong for Crawford, dog.
Benavidez is also confident that Canelo's experience would play a huge role in this fight. Canelo has been in the ring with so many great fighters. He knows how to handle different styles and adapt.
How to adapt, Benavidez said.
Crawford might be great, but he hasn't fought anyone like Canelo. The experience gap would be huge, and I think that would make a big difference. One thing Benavidez emphasized is that Crawford's power might not translate well to the higher weight class. At 147, Crawford was known for his ability to finish fights, but at 154, his power didn't seem as effective. Moving up to 168 would only make it harder for him to hurt a fighter like Canelo, who has faced and beaten some of the hardest hitters in boxing. Canelo can take a punch, Benavidez said. He's fought guys who hit a lot harder than Crawford and handled it. Crawford would have to fight the perfect fight to even have a chance.
If Bivol fight, you can say who you think is going to win. You can't say like, oh man, I'm surprised that Bivol won, or I'm surprised that Beterbiev won. You're like, man, that's a damn good fight. So-and-so won. So kind of how I feel about the David and Canelo fight. Like,
the possibility of Canelo knocking Crawford out is something Benavidez isn't shy about mentioning. He believes that if Crawford can't keep Canelo off him, it's only a matter of time before the Mexican superstar lands a big shot that ends the fight. Canelo's power is real, Benavidez said. If he catches Crawford clean, it could be over. I'm not saying Crawford isn't tough, but Canelo is on another level when it comes to power and finishing ability. I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo puts Crawford to sleep. The idea of Canelo knocking out Crawford might seem far-fetched to some, but it's a scenario that can't be ruled out. Canelo has proven time and again that he has the ability to end fights with a single punch.
Gonna put the beats on him like Dr. Dre.
Do we get a knockdown from Canelo, or does Bud knock down Canelo?
Nah, Canelo's not going down. You could hit Canelo with a Louisville slugger. He's just gonna smile at you.
They ain't say gonna beat him like the beats of Dr.
His body shots are brutal, and his hooks are devastating. If Crawford can't find a way to deal with Canelo's power, it could be a long night, or a very short one, for the undefeated American. While the fight isn't confirmed yet, rumors continue to swirl about a potential showdown in 2025. Both fighters seem interested in making it happen, and fans are eager to see two of the best in the sport go head-to-head. But as Benavidez pointed out, the weight difference could be the deciding factor. It's not just about skill, Benavidez said. It's about size, power, and experience. Canelo has all of that on his side. Crawford might be great, but this is a whole different challenge.
Terence Crawford is a legend. He's great. He's a great fighter. The only thing I see that I favor Canelo is that his weight.
Yeah.
And that he's more bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But as far as skill set wise, IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do way better.
That's the only thing, Benavidez continued. But as far as skill set and IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do way better, you know what I'm saying. In the end, Benavidez's prediction is clear, Canelo would come out on top if the fight happens. The weight, the power, and the experience all favor the Mexican superstar. For Crawford, it would be the ultimate test, a chance to prove that he can compete with the best, no matter the weight class. But as Canelo himself said, weight classes exist for a reason. Deontay Wilder's take on Terence Crawford moving up to fight Canelo Alvarez carries the weight of experience from someone who has witnessed firsthand what it takes to handle fighters in heavier weight classes. Wilder's perspective emphasizes the harsh reality of size and power dynamics. He doesn't deny Crawford's exceptional skill but points out that the jump from 147 to 168 is more than just a numbers game. It's about handling the sheer physicality of bigger fighters. Wilder described it vividly, comparing smaller fighters moving up in weight to a baby when facing heavier opponents. He highlighted that the impact of punches changes dramatically with weight, making it harder for smaller fighters to absorb punishment or deliver it effectively. This point becomes even sharper when you look at Canelo Alvarez's track record. Canelo has fought some of the toughest men in boxing, including light heavyweights like Sergey Kovalev and Dmitry Bivol, and has rarely shown signs of being overpowered or outgunned. The Mexican superstar is known for his granite chin, never having been dropped, even when facing hard-hitting opponents at higher weights. For Crawford, who is relatively new to super welterweight, moving up to face a man who has comfortably ruled the super middleweight division for years is a daunting proposition. The difference in their natural size was apparent at their last weigh-ins, with Canelo carrying a solid 14-pound advantage over Crawford. That's no small gap, especially against a fighter as physically imposing and powerful as Canelo.
Easy. Why do you need 3 times your normal pay? Crawford is easy. In my weight class, it's an easy fight, but give me 3 times what I normally make. Benavidez is easy.
As the world waits to see if this fight materializes, Crawford has one Hall of Fame legend in his corner, offering not just moral support but also technical guidance. James Toney, a former 3-weight world champion with a reputation for being one of the most skilled boxers of his era, is eager to step in and train Crawford for what he calls the biggest fight in boxing today. Toney's confidence in Crawford shines through in his bold statements, even going as far as to dismiss Canelo outright. Canelo can be knocked out. He ain't all that, Toney said, adding his own colorful flair by stating that he could teach Crawford to fry Canelo in the ring. Tony's belief stems from his own history of dominating at super middleweight, but it also highlights a potential gap between perception and reality. While Tony's skills and experience are undeniable, the fact remains that Canelo has developed into a master of his craft, blending power, defense, and ring IQ into a nearly unstoppable package. For Crawford, having someone like Tony in his corner could provide valuable insight, but it doesn't change the physical disadvantages he would face against the naturally bigger Canelo. Crawford, for his part, remains undeterred. In a recent interview, he emphasized that this fight is about legacy. He described it as the biggest fight in boxing today, likening its significance to the classic era of boxing when superstars like Floyd Mayweather dominated the sport. Crawford views this as his chance to cement his place among the all-time greats, and he's well aware of the challenges Canelo presents. When asked about the Mexican's strengths, Crawford pointed to his size and punching power as the two factors that stood out. However, he expressed confidence in his ability to adapt, citing his history of fighting bigger opponents throughout his career. The problem, though, is that Canelo is not just any bigger opponent, he's a seasoned veteran with a proven track record against fighters of all sizes. Canelo's ability to withstand punishment and impose his physicality has been a cornerstone of his success. Even in fights where he hasn't secured a knockout, Canelo has consistently demonstrated his ability to dominate over the distance, using his power and skill to control the ring. Crawford's power, while impressive at welterweight, didn't seem as effective at super welterweight when he failed to stop Israel Madrimov. That raises questions about how he would fare against a fighter like Canelo, who has taken punches from some of the hardest hitters in the sport without flinching. Still, Crawford's belief in his own abilities is unwavering. He's openly stated that size alone won't determine the outcome of the fight. While he acknowledges the physical challenges, he's confident in his technical skills and adaptability. "I've been fighting bigger guys my whole life," Crawford said, underscoring his experience and ability to overcome size disadvantages. However, the gap between fighting bigger opponents in training or lower-tier competition and facing someone of Canelo's caliber is significant. Canelo's combination of power, precision, and experience at the elite level is a completely different challenge. Adding to the intrigue is Canelo's current mindset. After his dominant victory over Edgar Berlanga, Canelo remained tight-lipped about the potential Crawford fight, offering only a "no comment" when asked. This silence suggests that Canelo is not ruling out the possibility but is waiting for the right offer to come his way. Shakur Stevenson is one of the loudest voices backing Terence Crawford to overcome the odds and beat Canelo Alvarez, despite the massive challenge ahead. Speaking to TalkSport Boxing, Stevenson reiterated his belief that Crawford has the tools to not only compete with Canelo but potentially make the fight look easy under the right circumstances. "Honestly, I've been saying this for years now," Stevenson said. "I'm probably the first one who has been saying this, even before Terence was saying it. I always thought that his style versus Canelo, I think he beats Canelo. I'm not saying it'll be an easy fight, but he can make it a very easy fight." Stevenson's confidence in Crawford is rooted in the WBA light middleweight title. However, moving up to super middleweight presents a unique set of challenges, particularly against a dominant champion like Canelo. The potential clash between Crawford and Canelo has been generating massive buzz. Reports from ESPN knockout journalist Julius Julianis suggest that the fight could happen as early as September in Las Vegas, following positive discussions between the fighters and promoters during the recent Ring Magazine Awards in London. While official confirmation is pending, both fighters have expressed interest in making this historic matchup happen. Crawford has been vocal about wanting the fight, labeling it a legacy fight. In an interview with TMZ, Crawford said, "This is the biggest fight in boxing today. You've got two guys, top 3 pound 4 pound, going head-to-head. The idea of Crawford jumping up 14 pounds to face Canelo at 168 pounds has raised questions about whether he's biting off more than he can chew. Canelo, a natural super middleweight, has been reigning at the top of the division, defending his unified titles with relative ease. Crawford's only recent experience at a higher weight came when he defeated Israel Madrimov to win the WBA junior middleweight title, a fight where Crawford showed skill but didn't display the dominance he's known for in lower weight classes. Much of the discussion around how Crawford could beat Canelo revolves around the so-called Mayweather blueprint. In 2013, Floyd Mayweather handed Canelo his first professional loss, outboxing him with surgical precision. However, as commentators like Ad Oladipo have pointed out, the Canelo of today is vastly different from the young fighter who faced Mayweather over a decade ago. Crawford's camp may attempt to replicate elements of Mayweather's strategy, focusing on speed, defense, and movement. But the reality is that Crawford is approaching this fight without any prior experience at super middleweight. Critics argue that taking on a tune-up fight at 168 pounds would give Crawford valuable preparation, but it seems he is laser-focused on Canelo and uninterested in other names at super middleweight. Crawford's belief in his ability to dethrone Canelo has attracted some big-name supporters, including Hall of Fame boxer James Toney. Toney, a former three-division world champion, has been vocal about wanting to help Crawford prepare for the fight. Speaking to Mill City Boxing, Toney didn't hold back when discussing how he could train Crawford to secure a knockout victory. "It would be huge," Toney said. "If that fight happens, I would go back into camp with Crawford and show him how to do it for real. I love boxing, but if he can't help him, I'll make sure it gets done." Toney didn't mince words about Canelo's perceived weaknesses. "Canelo can be knocked out. He ain't all that. He's not James Toney. He's not in my MF league. He can't hold my bag." Toney's bold claims are sure to add to the hype surrounding the fight, especially as Crawford himself has acknowledged the difficulties of facing a bigger, stronger opponent like Canelo. Despite these challenges, Crawford's determination to secure the fight stems from his desire to cement his legacy as one of the all-time greats. At nearly 38 years old, Crawford is heading into the twilight of his career. Critics, including Oladipo, have pointed out that age, inactivity, and the drastic move up in weight could all work against him. Crawford only wants Canelo and doesn't want to get any experience at super middleweight first to give himself a better chance of winning, Oladipo said. He's obviously afraid of what could happen if he took a tune-up at 168 and was blown out of the water. Crawford's debut at 154 against Madoff raised some concerns about how well his skills translate to higher weight classes. Although he secured a victory, it was far from a dominant performance. Moving up another 14 pounds to face a prime Canelo could expose vulnerabilities that Crawford hasn't had to deal with in the past.